anyone can do this business. I truly believe that. But there is a ceiling for some of those that don't want to add the part that really matters. Put in the dollar and it's going to spit out 5. How many times would you continue to put a $1 bill in this machine? It'll repeat it over and over again. Put in 1, kick out 5.
Cody,
my man.
I'm here with Cody Hofhine, my good friend and business partner in a lot of ways, doing a lot of really cool things with the Joe HomeBuyer franchise. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that, Cody. But guys, we are here at Cody's Mastermind. We're in Lake Powell. I mean, Cody, look at this place.
This is
incredible.
This is our heaven on earth. We come down here. We're about 25 days a year out here. My family thinks it's the best trip. We love Disney like you guys. And still to this day, my kids are like, Lake Powell's our favorite trip.
So what is Lake Powell? If someone watching this does not know Lake Powell, what is Lake Powell?
It's like heaven on earth. If you can think of like, what's your best view of what heaven's going to be like, it's here. It is just a massive, gorgeous lake. You got to Google Lake Powell. It's just a beautiful place for surfing. You have houseboats down here, so in the background you might see a piece of that houseboat, so that it doesn't even feel like you're away from home. I mean, they're pretty cool to sleep in. 8-bedroom, 4-bathroom houseboats, but it's just a gorgeous place to be. Yeah,
we've been coming here for a long time, and it's like a great place to disconnect, kind of recenter. Yes. Because there's no light pollution out here, so at night you literally see the stars like you've never seen them before. So it's just incredible. And we're learning, we're masterminding. We've got some really high profile, super successful people here. And it's interesting because we were talking about the wholesale real estate industry. And I've noticed this, and I think you agree with me that, a lot of people come into wholesale real estate, and it's probably like, of all the people that come in, most people come in thinking like, wow, this is a great way to make a lot of money really fast. And it is. But then they kind of realize right away, like, wow, this is a lot of work too. And so there's kind of like a high turnover rate. And then the people that do stick with it, see it through, put in the work, put in the effort, they start to see some success. And then what I've noticed is they hit about $250,000 a year. And that kind of is the cap, right? Which is really a lot of money. Like, that's fantastic. That's a great income. But then they kind of plateau there. And then I feel like 80% of wholesalers, they kind of hit 250, 300,000, and that's it, right? And what ends up happening is it's sort of like a solo operator, like a one-person team. Yes. And why is that, Cody? What do you see happening there? You have a lot of success helping wholesalers grow way past that, but why do you think that is, and what's the challenge with that?
I had some thoughts about this, and then we've really honed in because we're now at 80 franchises across the nation. Mm-hmm. And we're able to really see real time now. So we're able to really break down, study within our own group, like, okay, who's winning, who's not winning, why are they winning, why are they not winning? And we're able to break that down. And a lot of times it's the investor. The investor gets in their own way. And we do this all the time in our own lives, right? We can be our worst enemy of where we want to go. It can be fear driven, right? I mean, me and you were on a phone call with someone the other day, and we asked them, we said, hey, what do you think it is? What do you think that is that you're not be able to get past that 250, or why you don't spend triple the amount of marketing? Is it a budget problem, or is it but what if it doesn't come back and I just spent triple the amount of marketing? And we could feel that it was kind of leaning more that direction. And so a lot of times it can be fear-based. It can be
like that first hire, or spending more money on the marketing.
Spending money on the marketing is probably the biggest one. Like trying to up marketing. Yeah. Like I've been used to spending $2,500, and I just don't know if I dare to spend $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. But that's a huge part already in scaling. And then that second part comes into leadership, is how many people are building themselves up. So you can get into this business and make a lot of money. But along the way, are we doing the things with personal development to become a leader? Because A players, when everyone's like, hire an A player, A players aren't looking for B leaders. So if we're not becoming people along the way and we're just worried about money, at some point it does catch up and it haunts them, because now they haven't became the leader along the way, that now they can grow a team to help magnify and multiply what they're going to do.
So guys, in case you don't know, Cody and his partner Mark own Joe HomeBuyer, and it's a franchise that really helps wholesalers have all of the systems, the processes, the marketing in place to really excel with their wholesale business. And I'm just super proud, Cody, of what you've done with Joe HomeBuyer. I own several franchises myself. It's really fun to be a part of that organization, and helping that personal development is a big part of the culture at Joe. Yeah, it's a huge, and rightfully so, because I talk about this a lot. People don't really want to, put very much attention into this, but I personally believe that success in wholesale real estate, probably like anything, is about 80% your own development and 20%, technique and strategy.
Yeah.
It really plays that much of a role. And I hear you quote all the time, I think it's Jim Rohn, where your level of income never exceeds your personal development.
That's exactly right. Rarely does a man's income exceed their level of personal development.
Yeah, and
that's
how true is that? So, and I look back at my own life when I first got started. I tell this story a little bit, but this is 20 years ago. There wasn't all of the tools and resources and data like there is today. So I started, like many people, like driving for dollars, and this is Metro Detroit. And I didn't have money to buy the CDs. At that time, it was CDs of the greats. So I literally went to the public library.
All of our young generations right now, they're like, what the
CDs?
crap is
It's these
CD?
round things like
is
this.
Is that where you put your money in the money market? Like, is it?
Not that kind of CD. And I went to the public library and I checked out, Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins.
Yes.
Right. And I would listen to these CDs in my pickup truck while I was driving around.
Yeah.
And that had more of a profound impact on me than anything else I learned. Yeah. Was just having that personal development in my head all the time. Like, that was such a massive part of that growth.
And I think sometimes we don't want to hear that. Like, I know sometimes when I'm watching like content, I'm like, oh, I don't need to hear about mindset. I don't need to hear about those things. But those have been the things, if I have to be completely honest, I'm not the smartest individual. I'm not the guy that's gone to college. I'm not the guy that has a degree. I have been grit when I needed grit. I've had the grind when I needed the grind to get going and get business going. Anyone can do this business. I truly believe that. But there is a ceiling for some of those that don't want to add the part that really matters. And it's been personal development. It's been everything about me becoming someone better. How do you expect to bring on a team? And we had lunch with John Maxwell. John Maxwell is one of my favorite authors out there. He has a book called Fail Forward. I just absolutely love it.
I love his 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Incredible.
Yeah, life-changing.
Me and Mark sat down with lunch with John Maxwell. We're sitting there with him, and he's talking about us. He says, gentlemen, here's the thing that your team needs to know, your people need to know. He says, don't show me your dreams, show me your teams, because you can accomplish any dream when you have the team. But if you don't have leadership skills, if you don't have any personal development where you're becoming someone better, because you're only going to hire a mirror image of yourself. Yeah. So if you're a C leader, don't get mad that all you're attracting is C players, because that's all you're going to attract. A players are looking for A leaders. They're ready for jumping ships and being on different ships. That's okay. But if you're not the A leader, they'll jump that ship pretty quick and get onto another ship.
Yeah, I like to tell people that as you're growing your business, talent follows vision, right? So if you can show the vision of what your organization is all about, what you're doing, where you're going, and you can convey that in a way, and those A players buy into that vision, they have to buy into that. They have to believe in you as the visionary. Then they'll come into your organization. But if they don't see the vision, because you haven't developed it in yourself yet and conveyed it, then they're not going to come over to your organization, right? So vision attracts talent. So you've got to be constantly working on that. So we see that quite a bit. And that's why, to develop past that like plateau of $250,000 a year, it's really mostly about your ability to develop yourself into building a team and all the things that go into leadership to build an organization. And so that's kind of the biggest thing that we're seeing. And it's interesting because when you start in wholesale real estate, probably like any business, we've defined that going from your first deal, so 0 to 250 a year consistently, like building that business, that is 10 times harder than going from 250 to $1 million, right? Yeah. Isn't that interesting? 0 to 250 is way harder than 250 to $1 million. 1,000%. So we can take someone that's at that 250 level and get them to $1 million very quickly. And why is that? What has happened when someone's gotten to the 250 level? What things have they now, I guess, overcome or accomplished?
Again, it goes back to that whole mindset, right? How many times at the beginning, I want each one of you watching this, think about it for yourself. How many times at the very beginning did you think to yourself, like, I know, I saw Jerry do it, but I'm not Jerry. Like Jerry's been doing this so long and he's so good at talking to people, but I'm not Jerry. I don't have that gift of gab. And you kind of almost have that like self-sabotaging place in you. And then there's also that fear-driven. It's like, okay, I know it works, but will it work for me? And everything is out of fear. So there's so much fear behind most people when I talk to them. They're so like, yeah, I want it to work, but I just don't know if it's gonna work. And they have these what ifs going on in their head all the time. And Robin Sharma, a mentor of mine, he's all you gotta do is cut your excuses in half and triple down on your action. And I was like, that's what I gotta start telling these people. Like, just cut your excuses in half and just triple down on your action. Get going, you gotta just move. So that's a hard lift. A lot of people are coming from maybe a 9 to 5 where they didn't have to make big decisions. They didn't have to worry about marketing. They didn't have to worry about all these things. All they had to worry about is you provide your time. At the end of that week, a check is going in your bank account. But when you see money go out of your bank account to pay for marketing, that's a different game.
Yeah.
Once you've done it though, and you see it works, and you're 3xing, 4xing, 5xing that spend, it's amazing. You get to $250,000. But that $250,000 to $1 million, now it's just these little shifts of, okay, how do we develop you as a leader? How do we get a team in place? If I can be completely honest, for me, it was, I don't know if most people don't like the word partnership. I've always loved the word partnership. Me and Mark, like it's the yin to the yang. Mm-hmm. The things that I'm not talented at or great at, or maybe even not even have that much desire to do, Mark's fantastic at it and he loves it. Like it's his specialty. And to the opposite, the things that he doesn't like to do, that's like my specialty. So there is a healthy balance in understanding that maybe with someone, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. Because if that's the case, I would say partnerships are probably not the best thing. It's never,
you have to split.
Now you got to split it.
Do twice as much.
That's exactly right. But if you can have a 1 + 1 = 10, that's a special moment. And so every business that I own currently today, it's partnered with someone, but it's never with a 1 + 1 = 2. Every partner that I own a business with, it is a 1 + 1 = 10. And that's how I'm able to really expand who I am and become someone more. So that's the other part of the 250 to $1 million. Sometimes you need that someone else, that extra kick that has the same buy-in, the same mentality that they want to go, hey, I want to get to 1 million or 2 million or 3 million. Sometimes having someone that I can call and say, hey, we own some stuff together, where I can say, hey, talk to me, Jerry. Like, what do I need?
Through this.
Like, walk me through this. What are your thoughts? And then I get clarity through being able to leverage a partner. And now it's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I talk about this to scale a wholesale business. You have like these different phases that you go through. I've done a couple videos around this. And you know, in the beginning, it's all about just transacting and being consistent, right? Like if we look at some of my partners that are Joe franchisees, these guys they're successful at that 250 to 500,000, and it's because they're just so consistent. Like they wake up, they show up, they get on the phones, they go on the appointments. They're the most gritty, hardworking dudes. They're just amazing. They are. And what is it? They just keep showing up. And it's interesting. I did an interview with Chris Allen, one of our Joe partners, and I asked Chris, I'm like, Chris, how have you been so successful? And he's like, man, I just when I show up and I'm there, then like that's 80% of it. Because now I'm here, that's right. And then I just get on the calls, and and then it's like just the hardest part is just making sure I'm there every day. Yeah. Right. So I think to get to 250, it literally is just showing up, being consistent, picking up that phone, doing those calls, making those offers, and you can get to 250 really with not much leadership, no team, just consistency and, for your guys, and grit.
No marketing.
And no marketing.
This is the one thing that's blown my mind since you brought on your partners. The one thing that's blowing my mind right now is every one of them when they're at that $250,000 mark, I'm like, okay, so what marketing channels do they have? They're like, oh, we don't have marketing channels. We just reach out to agents. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, what's happening right here? Yeah, so that's the other part of getting to 250 is it can be easier also because the sense of I just got to show up. Like I don't have to rely on anyone. I don't have to worry about marketing. I don't have to spend money. And so that's the other thing. If they're getting to $250,000 without marketing dollars, they're reaching out to agents. But then when it gets from 250 to $1 million, what's cool is now they don't have to worry about any kind of natural fears that come in to say, hey, we're going to spend 15 grand this month in marketing, because you've been there before, you've done that, and they partnered with you. So you can say, hey, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just pick up the phone when these leads come,
Yeah.
because I'm paying for leads and it's coming.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to start picking up the phone and just keep multiplying what they're doing. And then pretty soon the whole point behind this is that they're not going to be wearing all the hats like they currently are. We're going to start helping them build out the team and map out a beautiful blueprint that allows them to work on their business versus in the business.
Well, you and I have a very strong philosophy that a business, especially a wholesale real estate business, it really should never stay a high-paying job. You know, there's that phase where it is. Like in the beginning it is, because you're wearing all the hats, right? But we don't ever want to get stuck in that phase. The goal is you actually bring on the right team. You have acquisitions, you have dispositions, you have, you know, virtual assistants that are doing some of that lower level activity, heavy lifting. You've got marketing people, you got the whole process and system and team to where you literally should be able to step outside of that business and it be a multi-million-dollar functioning business without you there operating day to day. Like that's the goal. That's the goal in every one of my businesses. That's the goal in every one of your businesses. Again, they have phases, right? There's that part where you are going to have to grind in that business, but if you can continue to develop, the way you get past that 250 is you start to build a team. You start to spend the money on the right kind of marketing, right? And then that's going to allow you to grow while the business is growing, you're growing, and then you really do step into that owner box where maybe now it's, you know, an hour or 2 or 3 a week, just making sure all the parts are moving how they should. And isn't that what a business should be?
Probably at the beginning, I never would have saw it like that, but yeah, that's what a business should be. In fact, we have my operation manager here, Connor, and I remember asking in front of you, I'm like, Connor, like, to be honest, how many hours do I spend with you? And he's like, negative.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what?
It was really funny. He said negative. So I'm like, so does Cody take from the business? So guys, check that out. Cody's business in Utah does millions a year in revenue, his wholesale business. And Cody, his team said Cody spends negative time in that business.
I'm still trying to work through that one, how that adds up.
Yeah, I am too.
Maybe I'm in their way more than I actually help.
Like, geez, Cody, get out of here. We're trying to do deals here. Get out of the way. But the point with that is Cody has developed that business into where he literally now owns the business. The business works for him, not him for the business. And I know that's maybe cliche. We hear that a little bit, but we often easily lose sight of that. And we start getting in the business. I know for me, one thing I did is I was working in my backyard in Metro Detroit, and then our family decided to do this RV trip, like this extended, like year-long RV trip. And when I left like the office, I realized instantly that I was the bottleneck to the growth of that business. I was the one that was slowing it down. I was the one that, because everything had to come through me, and I hadn't really developed my team to do the business the right way. And so that sort of forced me to kind of wake up and see that. And that was, seeing that firsthand changed everything for me, because I realized, hey, I really can get people in these positions that actually do that job better than me.
That's the flaw, the myth.
And then the business just exploded.
That's the flaw in the myth that most people say is, you know what, but I can't turn that over to someone else. I can't turn acquisitions over because I'm the closer. I'm the one that's the best. And they have this ego side that says, no one can do it as good as me. The other side is that you feel like, maybe almost like you can't delegate. Maybe there's a delegation problem. Like you can't leverage people. And I see that all the time too, is they don't delegate. There's like, no, I'll do it. So when someone comes in with a problem, they're like, what do I do now? This happened. We just had a buyer back out. And instead of saying, okay, what do you think you should do in building that leadership skill? They're like, oh, okay, well, let me figure it out and I'll get another buyer to buy this. And they take it away from their team. So there's these things that, I mean, along the way, that's what we were finding out with Joe Homebuyer is how do we continually help our Joe franchise owners understand that owning a business is more than just saying I own a business. It's work. It's still work, and you still got to just work on becoming someone better than who you are each and every day. We're just talking about 1% marginal gains, and as you do that, you start to see that Jim Rohn quote: "Rarely does a man's income exceed their level of personal development." As you become someone better, money just chases you, and that's a cool feeling. So
let's talk about, before we wrap up this video, Cody, I want to talk a little bit about marketing, because what I've seen is, if you look at all of the $1 million producers in wholesale real estate, they are all spending the money on the marketing. And they understand that marketing is just a giant funnel, and the more coming in the top, the more quality deals I'm going to get out at the bottom. And that's a very distinguishing thing about the $1 million producers and everybody else. So I kind of look at it like in real estate, when we get started, there's like free methods, right? Like agent outreach and maybe driving for dollars. You know, there's a handful of strategies you can do that are free, don't cost you anything. Then there's like your low cost, and that's typically like cold calling and texting. You know, you get a list, you skip trace it, you cold call it. That's a very low cost strategy. Works, but it's low cost. It is a lot of work, a lot of follow up, because you're outreaching, which means you're getting people early in the motivation stage, right? Which means you got to follow up a lot. The cash conversion cycle is really long because you got to, you know, you talk to them today and they're not ready for 6 months, right? So that's very typical with like those low cost strategies. And then you have your higher cost marketing strategies, and that's usually going to be Google and Facebook ads. It's going to be direct mail. It's now really spending the money. But what happens is you start to bring in some very high quality leads. And so you kind of look at these different things, and you know, you can do all of them, that's fine. But what most people do is they start out with the free and the low, and then they really struggle to the high cost marketing. And the high cost marketing is where you're going to really see that massive expansion. That's right. Because you're getting those deep buys, you're getting the high motivation. That's right. And you're just getting the higher quality as well. Yes. And so transitioning tends to be where people can get stuck. Yep. They can get stuck in the free and low cost and not transition into the high. So what's going on there? Like, I don't know, maybe you have some thoughts around when it's time or how to think differently about that marketing spend.
I look at it as maybe a simple story, and I'd think about this. If I gave you $1 and I said, hey, just sit in front of this slot machine right here. All you gotta do is sit here, park your chair right there, put in the dollar, and it's gonna spit out 5. How many times would you continue to put a $1 bill in this machine? It'll repeat it over and over again. Put in 1, kick out 5. Put in 1, kick out 5. When it gets to the numbers, don't let it sway you. Don't let it be the thing that changes why you're gonna invest or not invest. Cause it's like, oh no, now instead of like free marketing, now I have to spend $5 grand, 10 grand. In fact, I would challenge most people nowadays, just in the marketing that we're in and the economy that we're in and the competition that's out there. If you're not having an average spend of between $8,000 and $10,000 in your market, and in major markets that are super hyper competitive, I'd say that number goes up to like 12 to 15 a month.
And higher price points too.
That's
like
right.
If you look at some higher price points, you might be spending $15,000, whereas in another market that you'll get that same, you know, contract per lead.
That's right.
At $5,000, but on the $15,000 spend market, you're kicking out a $50,000 assignment.
This is correct.
So it's also, you got to also think about what market you're in and price points, because you're going to have to spend more, but you're going to get a whole lot bigger assignment fee on that deal.
And speed.
People forget that too.
Yes, and speed is the key to this. So if you can see something where I'm gonna put out an investment and it comes back quick, no one loves putting out money and it takes a long time to bring back. And that can happen. You put $5 grand in that kitty for the spending on direct mail, it could take you 6 months to do a deal. Because there is also that point of it's not enough. And so we're kind of just playing with our foot on the brake. We're not just fully accelerated on the gas. There is, when all of a sudden you turn it to 10 or 15, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that was the difference. That was the big kicker right there that brought in all the leads that allowed me to close. So that's another thing, is you can also not spend enough, but dabble in it. Yeah. And dabbling, everyone jumps out of marketing when they dabble. It's just not enough. It's literally playing with your foot on the brake. You've got to be all in. You can't just dabble in marketing. If you're going to do it and diversify, because everything's cyclical. So when mail's up, it could be that PPC's down, but that's where people stay consistent, where you're feeling a roller coaster. You're like, oh man, it's so good. I did a deal this month, but then the next 2 months I didn't do a deal. And now we're on that roller coaster ride. If we can have PPC, SEO, Facebook, direct mail, cold calling, an agent outreach through like a relationship manager, what happens is, as things go down, things are going up. Like it's just really cyclical. I'm trying to make this like cool. I feel like I'm like glow sticking or something.
It does look cool though.
But that's the kicker to marketing. You do need to diversify, but you have to spend enough budget. If you do that, you stay consistently doing deals.
Yeah, I tell my Joe partners that are doing the 250 or so, to get to $1 million, we have to minimum start spending $10,000 a month, and really that's got to keep going up, because if we're not at least spending that in marketing, we're not going to be generating enough leads to get the quality leads, to get the quality contracts, right? And so that's a big mindset shift for a lot of people. They're like 10 grand a month and spend. Like you got to be kind of ready to, you got to be ready to handle those leads, and you got to be ready to start spending money to make money.
And when the people get to $2.5 million,
oh yeah,
they're spending $30,000 to $40,000 a month.
And
they're not staying at 15. They're not getting their processes better. They're just buying more leads.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see that. There are multi-million-dollar wholesalers that are spending the 50, the 100 grand a month, and their team is no bigger.
That's right.
It's no bigger than people doing the 500,000 or whatever, because now it's just about feeding the machine with quality leads and closing those leads and getting the big assignments. So, Cody, I love this conversation. Hope you guys got a lot of value out of that. You know, it really is a matter of that personal development, really spending the money on the marketing, and it's incredible. Like I like to say, you know, it's getting your 10th deal is 10 times harder than your first deal, and getting your 100th deal or easier. Getting your 10th deal is 100 times easier than your first deal, and getting your 100th deal is 100 times easier than your 10th deal. That's right. And it's just because you got to keep building out that system, right? So guys, hope you got a lot of value out of that. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to put some of Cody's information below. If you guys want to learn more about the Joe Homebuyer franchise and what that looks like, I'll put a link down there below too, and you can learn more about that. And also, if you're a high producer, you know, if you're at that stage where you're hitting that 250 to 500,000 and you're a solo operator, and you wanna talk about maybe partnering with me on a Joe Homebuyer franchise and what that looks like, it's really a phenomenal model that might be the right fit. I mean, culture is a big thing, so you have to fit our culture to even be considered for that, let alone already be at a certain level producing. But we'll put some information below, and you can learn more about that as well. We'll see you guys on the next video.